You're listening to the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast, episode 94. What one head of department shared with an exam hall full of Year 11 math students that is so true, yet so often overlooked. I'm Katie Jones, and with over 15 years in education as an award-winning high school teacher, international external examiner, and as a study coach, I've helped thousands of students skyrocket their results and confidence. And this podcast is where I share all my insights, tactics, and tips with you, the parent, so you can help your hardworking teen get happy, smart, and successful in their study, and have you both enjoy the journey along the way. This is the Parents of Hardworking Teens podcast. Hey there, my very important parents and carers. I hope your week is going brilliantly so far. And if you are on school holidays when this goes out, I hope that you and your teen are having a really lovely break. This is a very off-the-cuff episode because I'm recording it right after a day of teaching where for one of the lessons I was one of the supervising teachers in a big Year 11 maths exam. Now this was a formal internal exam for the end of what is term 1 here in Australia, where all of the students were in rows in the exam hall, all under exam strict conditions. And actually, it was probably treated almost like an end of semester exam, thinking about it now. And as I was doing the whole walking up and down the aisles, making sure that there was nothing on the desks that shouldn't be, trying not to trip over the most mammoth of water bottles. What is with these huge water bottles that just seem to be the trend these days? As I was doing that, I heard the head of maths, who was overseeing the exam and reading out the introductory information, say one thing that really made my ears prick up and my inner exam geek light on fire. He said, and I quote, "This exam is not just testing your maths ability. It's testing your ability to work to time," which I know is code for you are not going to have a spare 30 minutes to sit and relax at the end of this paper. Don't take things slowly as you work. Think carefully, because there isn't going to be lots of time or leeway if you do something wrong and have to start over. Now, I'm not sure if every student necessarily really took that on board, if they cottoned on to that message fully as I did, because I don't think it's a message that actually gets shared all that often. And I have to say, I was only there for the first half of the exam, so I didn't actually get to see how many students did get finished or didn't. But as you can tell, it definitely struck a chord with me. And as I was walking around, I was trying to will those messages into the students' brains through telepathy as I carried on walking up and down those aisles. Because we all know that the time pressure of exams is one of the things that adds to the stress of the examination experience. We could say that that pressure is not necessarily conducive to students being able to produce their best work, either because they're stressed and therefore perhaps not thinking as clearly and calmly as they might do otherwise, or because outside of exams, we can often produce work and then take the time to edit or refine it. Not going to happen in exams, right? And this is just another example of why I have so much to say about exams, why I think many students are not quite seeing them for what they are. Exams are not demanding perfection. That's the good news. Even the very top mark in an essay in an English exam, for example, allows for 1 or 2 minor slips in something like spelling, punctuation, and grammar. The standard produced under exam conditions is not marked in the same way as a piece of coursework or other formal assessment that has been completed over an extended period of time and has been edited, proofread, refined, likely had feedback along the way, whether that's professional from their teacher, from a peer, from a parent. So they really can make it the best it can possibly be for them personally. So like I said, in some ways, this is good news, that the level of expectation is adapted to take account of the circumstances. However, what is being tested in an exam that isn't in most other types of assessments, is how well your teen performs or what they produce within a specific limited time. This is part of what exams are testing, which is why it's so important that your teen can quickly and confidently and accurately dissect a question and determine exactly what it's asking and what will and won't get marks on the mark scheme. Now, in this maths exam, that meant that they would have to process any information provided in a question, determine what was required to be solved or calculated, and then carry out that process or procedure in the right way, ideally first time round, without slips or transcription errors along the way. Now, there might be time to redo a false start once or twice. There might be time to check a few answers that maybe logically have a questionable solution. The answer that has come out does not seem to quite make sense. But there's not going to be time to go back over everything meticulously. And that is the nature of an exam. And this is the case across most exams and subjects as students move up through the year levels. So if your teen is still in those lower year groups in high school, maybe years 7 to 9, perhaps even year 10 a little bit, this still happens, they might well have plenty of time to complete an exam paper. I have actually seen schools and subjects do this on purpose, where they'll say things like, hey, look, we want you to have plenty of time to really produce your very best work or best possible answers. And there's no problem with that. I think it can help to build confidence and reduce the fear factor of exams. But what often isn't said or shared is it's not always going to be like this. And then what happens is suddenly in those senior years, in year 12 or 13, or for A-levels or GCSEs, the exam paper is literally timed to be able to complete it, not to have plenty of time. And for students to be well aware of this is super helpful. And even better for that to be before they are sat in the exam hall. Now, I'm not saying that these students hadn't been told that before. I have no idea. I kind of feel like they weren't, but that was just the vibe I got. And from my experience with working with students in Rock Solid Study who feel like things have suddenly ramped up or their results and performance have suddenly ramped down once they hit a certain level, this can be one of the reasons. So here's what I like to do for students. I make it really clear that exams are not just testing their subject knowledge. You will have heard me say that so many times. Exams are also testing their ability to put that knowledge across in the way that the question demands and the mark scheme requires, succinctly, clearly, within the time given. That's why I talk about the 6 elements of exam technique. Exam technique is not just one thing. There are multiple interwoven skills required to perform to your potential in academic exams. And that isn't even including the subject knowledge. And this is one of the reasons that I suggest students get used to working within time constraints, even when they don't have to. Now, if time is a bit of an issue for your teen or it's something you'd like them to have more of, then definitely check out episode 5 on this podcast for more on this. The episode is called More Free Time Without Sacrificing Grades. And one example that I cover in there is a concept that I call scheduling outcomes. So students aren't just thinking to themselves or saying, hey, I'm just going to go do some research for that report, without a clear idea of how many pieces of evidence or research they need and in what time frame. So instead, what I'd encourage them to do is say something like, I'm going to find 5 quality sources within the next 40 minutes. Or for maths, instead of saying, I'm just going to go work on my maths or I'm going to work through those questions, they would say, I'm going to get these 3 practice maths questions, maybe it's 5, 6, and 7, done in 20 minutes. And there are so many benefits to this. It gets your teen used to working to time limits and therefore also increases their awareness of how long tasks actually take them, which in turn allows them to plan their time and their tasks much more accurately. It increases your teen's focus and therefore reduces procrastination or the likelihood of distraction. And therefore, it means they're going to get tasks done quicker, likely to a higher quality because they're not getting distracted, and it's going to give them more time for other things in their life. So I'm not talking about speeding through and rushing through something in a slapdash kind of way just for speed and just for time. I'm talking about focused, high quality, productive time. And personally, I do think that this is a great life skill to build. Because no one's boss wants you to be taking twice as long on a task than they have planned for it in their systems or in the business for it to take. Just think about the flack that anyone in the building or trade industry gets when they get behind schedule. Or at the supermarket. I personally love a fast and efficient grocery scanning person on the checkout. In fact, one of my slightly sad but true personal challenges, and I know a lot of people hate this, the packing system of Aldi, where they just fire it off the end and you're supposed to pack it afterwards. I slightly love it because I treat it like my personal challenge to pack as fast as they can throw the items at me. And I remember in my first barista job at the local coffee shop when I moved over to Australia, which I did whilst I was getting all my teaching documentation processed, I vividly remember being judged on not just the quality of the coffees that I was producing, but how fast I could do them. Because I was pretty slow at first. I was just trying to get it right. And one of the managers said to me, "You just need to move faster." At another cafe I also worked at, I remember the barista there telling me that his interview or trial, if you like, was basically a stack of orders lined up along the machine that the owner had put on there, and they just timed how quickly he got through them all. Obviously, needing to be good quality as well. And actually, as I say this is a really good analogy for exams. I've just realized the whole coffee making thing. Is the order right? Did they make the right coffees? AKA, did they actually answer the question? How good are the coffees? How well do they meet the marking criteria? And then speed. Can they do all of that within a set time limit? That is a pretty good analogy. And this is probably a good way to round this out. Because really, my message for this week is kind of an excuse to remind everyone that exams are not just testing subject knowledge, and to focus on the fact that, yes, they're testing many different skills, and one of those is working to time. So this is a little suggestion, invitation to consider how your teen could build this skill into their study on a regular basis and in preparation for any exams. Now, if you know any parents who have teens that are going to be taking exams this year who might benefit from this sort of information right now, then I would love it if you send them a screenshot of this podcast, or you can tag them in one of our Facebook or Instagram posts and they will find it that way. Hey, maybe they'll even buy you a coffee to say thank you. Have a fabulous rest of your week. I will meet you back here next week. Take care. Bye. If you're ready to have your teen achieve their best possible results with less stress, then I want to invite you to enroll them in the 10-week Grade Transformation Program, where they're going to learn the key concepts, skills, and strategies to catapult their performance in assessments and exams. It's risk-free. They either achieve bigger and better results with a whole lot more confidence in 10 weeks, or we refund you in full. Just head over to www.rocksolidstudy.com/program, and I'll see you there.